Patch 6.0, the next major patch, will bring buffs and changes to a lot of perks. What are you hoping they change? Talk about it here so that the devs might see. Alright, so yes, that's true. Next patch is going to adjust some of the perks that are a little underpowered or just a little janky. And I really hope they get to Assault because there's a few perks on the Assault class that just feel really weird. Mostly all of the capstone perks, like on the far end of his perk tree. But regardless, I can see them, changing some perks for a lot of other classes. I really hope we don't see any nerfs. This could definitely. I genuinely don't think there's any perks that need nerfs, but we're not too sure exactly what they're changing. And I assume it's all going to be buffs anyway. Or at least, changing perks to where they're more convenient to use, or, something like that. So I wanted to bring the question along to you guys to see exactly what perks are in desperate need of a change. Terminus perks are pointless, so that might not hurt changing. What I want is actually for weapon perks. I wish you could swap tracks without having to spend an extra point to get there. But other than that, as a solo sniper main, I'm actually not too dissatisfied with the things as they are now. Well, yeah, Sniper has some pretty good perks, that's why. Terminus perks are pointless. I guess. For the most part, they can be, but let's be honest, dude. There are certain players who definitely need help fighting Terminus. And by certain players, I mean like a small fraction. But you never know when a Terminus perk actually can, be handy when you're trying to carry, But still, I understand the point because it's like Terminus are super rare, and there's essentially only one Terminus. I don't know. I think, any sort of perk that does extra damage against a extremely threatening enemy is actually pretty helpful. It's just super rare. And yeah, I want to call it pointless, but it has one use. It has basically one use throughout the operation. Well, I'm hoping that the perk rework doesn't just fix some of the more useless and broken perks, but also fixes the weapon-specific perks. I feel that most of them could be made into a general buff and not super niche. You know what? I get it. Yeah. It seems like most people actually want weapon perks to be changed, and I can agree. I definitely agree. But I've been playing a lot of Assault, so a lot of the perks that I've noticed that aren't very useful are all in that class. So hopefully they just change a whole handful of perks. That would be kind of cool. I feel that would give some classes more of a reason to swap loadouts in a mission rather than feeling locked to one gun that run. I guess. I feel that most of them could be made into a general buff. I hope. Yeah, generally speaking, something like that is definitely going to be useful. At least more useful than Terminus extra damage perks. But, I can still see a bit of a use using the Terminus perks. But, yeah, I do have to agree with the weapon-specific perks. Some weapon perks are just really, really odd. Dude, could you imagine if they just started switching up perks and, like, the heavy bolt rifle becomes, like, actually, like, super devastating? It's, like, very, very strong just because that weapon has so many wild random perks. But honestly, I still like those. All melee perks that deal extra damage to Tyranids Chaos should just be merged together. It's just a waste to having to pick one or the other. Yeah, even some of those Tyranid Chaos perks are also capstones. So it's like your capstone perk is basically just extra damage against a singular enemy type, and that doesn't feel very satisfying. I agree with this. Also make all secondary available for all classes. Okay, but that's not really on the subject. We talked about that before. All melee perks that deal extra damage. Wait, oh yeah, I was actually kind of talking about the, the capstone perks where it's like 10 extra damage against Tyranids or 10 extra damage against Chaos. All melee perks that deal extra damage. So they're specifically talking about melee perks. Yeah, definitely make melee perks, a bit more, more applicable across the board. You know what I mean? Tactical's perk, Emperor's Vengeance, should refund the ammo to your reserves, not your current magazine. Okay, I like that idea. The way it works right now, it's amazing on the plasma rifle since it has no magazine, so you don't have to even think about it. But with mag-fed weapons, it only fills your magazine, so you could potentially have a proc refill only a few rounds, which isn't fun. Yeah, that's a good point. That's definitely a good point. I try to pay attention to Emperor's Vengeance as much as I can when I'm using, you know, mag-fed weapons like the heavy bolt rifle. But yeah, for the most part, it's like hardly noticeable. Tactical also already has a perk that refills your mag on finishers, so they overlap too much. It should be a decision between auto-reloading on any finisher or refilling one magazine of ammo to reserve once every 3 seconds on Majorist, Extremis, or Terminus. Okay, I like that. That's a good idea. This dude's kind of cooking. But yeah, that's true. The plasma rifle definitely gets it definitely gets a real nice ammo refill on Emperor's Vengeance. I gotta play more plasma rifle, man. Dude, it's so crazy. It's like I'll start playing on a class and then like you know, I'll level up a weapon. I'll get it pretty high level and then immediately just try to find another weapon to level. There's a lot of weapons to level, man, especially for tactical. It's like you can level up the stalker, heavy bolt rifle, plasma, bolt rifle with the grenade launcher. Dude, tactical just has everything. But yeah, I want to use so many weapons. It's kind of tough to, you know, level up everything, and you know, it takes time. Assault's signature perk column is in dire need of a rework. The signature perk is supposed to be something that offers a significant boon to how you play the class. Health regen for Vanguard, for example. But what we get for Assault is too insignificant that they might as well not exist. Yeah, I agree. I've been able to get the jump pack refund on Perfect Dodge perk to proc a few times in the Hive Tyrant fight. I mean, that's pretty good. But that's it, and it still feels underwhelming. A perk based around your secondary weapon, jump pack, and perfect dodge respectively is a good idea. It's just not well realized in its current form. I mean, yeah, dude, the heavy bolt pistol's so good, man. This would also be a good opportunity to provide Assault with something, with something to improve its survivability. It doesn't have to be exactly like Vanguard's Adrenaline Rush, but something like that would be most appreciated. All right. Yes, Assault definitely needs some help on survivability. You would think they'd have survivability perks for their, you know, their signature perk column. I also call them capstones, but yeah, signature perk column is more accurate. Also, I think they should do a major rework of the Power Fist. I want to like it, but every time I use it, I find myself thinking I'd be better off with something else. It's like they want it to be a weapon that's decent in one-on-one encounters and against mobs, but the chainsword already does that. Yeah. Yeah, he's right. Dude, it's crazy that they ended up nerfing the Power Fist. I mean, I understand that the one-shot charges were a little crazy in PvP, but like it did give the Power Fist a point, didn't it? I would go back and either make it a weapon best suited for one-on-one engagements, like the combat knife, or do a total overhaul on the perks so that one lane is better suited for one-on-one or versus mobs, so the player can decide for themselves how they best want to use it. Yeah, this should go without saying. Both of the perks, the perk roads, I guess you could call them, for the weapons, yeah, they should be very distinct. Like they shouldn't have any sort of similarities. Like if you go with a bottom row, it should be way different than the top row. In its current form, the Power Fist is trying to be okay at both and is being outclassed by the easier to use Chainsword, which is available for both Assault and Bulwark, and the Power Sword, which actually feels like it excels at both situations when you change to the appropriate stance. Yeah. Oh my god. Dude, reading this stuff makes me want to play the game, because just talking about like the combat knife, Power Fist, and you know, like trying to find out, you know, wide varied uses for that, like I think that's fun to test. I know I have about a dozen other things to gripe about, but those are the two I can think of off the top of my head. Nope, that's a good point. That's a good point. I feel like most of the perks that need to be changed are definitely on the Assault class's perk tree. Yeah, so a Sniper mentioned earlier that they're actually fine with their class perks. I think there's maybe a like 1 or 2 on Bulwark that's a little weird. I have never seen the Vanguard's perk system yet. And what am I missing? Heavy. Heavy perks are fun, man. Heavy, like the heavy that I made basically. I just, you know, focus on all the tank perks just for fun. Like the health 20%. I know it's not that great, but it's still, you know, it gives the heavy basically an identity. So like extra health, tank here, boom.